Every hour you spend multitasking costs you 23 minutes. You read that right. 23 minutes to recover focus after a single interruption. You wear your ability to juggle 5 things at once like a badge of honor. By the end of this, you'll understand why that badge is an anchor dragging your best work to the bottom. Your brain has a bottleneck, a narrow channel that processes conscious thought one stream at a time. When you toggle between your email, that spreadsheet, and the message you're drafting, your brain does something expensive. It flushes the mental workspace, clears the rules of task A, loads the rules of task B, reorients to the goal, finds where you left off. Every single time. That flush and reload cycle takes real time and real energy, even when the switch feels instant. You experience it as seamless. Your output tells a different story. Researchers at the University of Michigan ran experiments on this cycle in the early 2000s. They had participants switch between tasks of varying complexity, math problems, shape sorting, word classification. The pattern was consistent. Every switch imposed a cost. Simple tasks, small cost. Complex tasks, larger cost. But the costs were never zero, and they compounded. Over a full workday of steady switching, the accumulated drag ate roughly 40% of productive time. 4 out of every 10 hours, gone. Where did they go? Into the invisible tax of reloading context. Think about your last Monday morning. You sat down with a plan, maybe even a list. Then Slack pinged. You answered it in 30 seconds. Quick, harmless. But when you turned back to your original task, you didn't pick up where you left off. You picked up a few steps behind where you left off. Your brain had to rebuild the mental model. The thread of logic you were following had gone cold. That 30-second interruption just cost you 3 or 4 minutes of re-engagement. Multiply that by the average number of times a knowledge worker switches tasks in a day, somewhere around 300, according to research from the University of California, Irvine. And the math starts to bruise. Gloria Mark, who led that research, found that workers typically spent only about 3 minutes on any given task before switching. 3 minutes. You can barely finish reading a long email in 3 minutes, let alone produce anything that requires thought. So why do we keep doing it? Because task switching comes with a small chemical reward. Each new input, a notification, a new tab, a fresh question from a coworker, triggers a tiny hit of novelty. Your brain treats new information like a snack, and just like snacking, it feels productive in the moment, while slowly replacing the meal you actually needed. The real damage goes deeper than lost minutes. There's a quality cost that almost nobody measures. When you write a report while checking messages, neither output gets your full capacity. The report is less clear, less structured, less original than it would be with sustained attention. The messages are less thoughtful, more reactive. You produce 2 mediocre outputs instead of 1 excellent one. Over months, this becomes a reputation. You become the person who delivers good enough work. You hit deadlines but never exceed expectations. And you can feel it, that nagging sense that you're capable of more than what you're putting out. That sense is accurate. You are capable of more. Your workflow just won't let you access it. Cal Newport, a computer science professor at Georgetown, ran an experiment with his own students. He tracked 2 groups, one that worked in sustained, uninterrupted blocks of 90 minutes, and one that worked the same total hours but checked email and messages freely throughout. The sustained focus group produced measurably higher quality work in less total time. They also reported lower stress. The switching group worked longer, felt busier, and produced less. The people who feel most productive are often the least productive. Business and output are different animals wearing the same coat. You know the coworker who's always visibly overwhelmed, always typing furiously, always in 4 chats at once. Compare their actual output to the quiet one who closes the door and emerges 3 hours later with something finished. The difference is focus, and focus has a specific enemy, the voluntary interruption. Involuntary interruptions, a fire alarm, a server crash, a genuine emergency, are rare. Most of the switching you do is self-inflicted. You check your phone because the paragraph you're writing hit a hard section. You open a new tab because the analysis you're running requires patience you'd rather spend elsewhere. The switch feels like a break, a tiny vacation from cognitive strain. Your brain rationalizes it brilliantly. I'll just check this one thing. That one thing has a link. The link has a thread. The thread has a question. 12 minutes later, You're back at the analysis with a cold engine and a warm sense of guilt. So, what actually works? Structured monotasking, which sounds about as exciting as watching paint dry. But the practice has teeth. You pick one task, you set a boundary. 45 minutes, 60 minutes, whatever your current attention span can sustain. During that window, everything else is closed. Every notification silenced. Every tab that doesn't serve the task gone. You will feel uncomfortable. About 15 minutes in, your brain will itch for novelty. That itch is withdrawal. Treat it that way. Sit with it. It peaks around the 20-minute mark and then recedes every single time. What fills the space is a state that psychologist Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi spent decades studying. He called it flow, a state where your skill level and the challenge level are closely matched, and your attention is fully absorbed. In flow, time distortion occurs. An hour feels like 20 minutes. Output quality jumps, error rates drop, and the subjective experience is something close to satisfaction. The deep kind, the kind that busyness mimics but never delivers. Getting into flow typically takes about 15 to 20 minutes of unbroken concentration, which means every interruption before that threshold resets the clock. You never reach the state. You spend your entire day in the shallow water, never swimming deep enough to find what's actually down there. This is how people work for 40 years and retire feeling like they never reached their potential. The potential was always there. The access route kept getting blocked by pings. Now, a fair objection. Some jobs genuinely require rapid context switching. Emergency room doctors, air traffic controllers, customer support agents. If you're in one of those roles, sustained monotasking during active hours may be structurally impossible. The answer there is recovery. Block whatever deep work you have, planning, documentation, skill development, into protected windows outside the reactive hours. Even 30 minutes of genuine focus per day, compounded over months, builds something that scattered attention never will. For everyone else, the obstacle is cultural, and it's worth naming honestly. Many workplaces treat instant responsiveness as a proxy for commitment. If you don't reply to Slack within 5 minutes, you're perceived as disengaged. That's a real structural barrier, and just focus harder doesn't fix an environment designed to interrupt you. The answer involves negotiation, setting explicit expectations with your team. I check messages at 10, 1, and 4, framing it around output quality rather than personal preference. Most managers, when presented with the data, 40% productivity loss, degraded work quality, higher stress, will tolerate a response delay of an hour. The ones who won't have a management problem, and awareness of that is useful too. The most underrated tactic is ending each work block by writing a single sentence, what you were doing and what comes next. A handoff note to your future self. Finish the first 3 sections of the proposal. Next, the budget breakdown starting with Q3 projections. This eliminates the most expensive part of context switching, the reorientation. When you come back, you don't stare at the document wondering where you were. You read the sentence, and you're moving within 60 seconds. That one habit, trivial as it sounds, can reclaim an hour a day. An hour that was previously evaporating into the reload cycle. You've been running your brain like a browser with 80 tabs open, wondering why it's slow. The processor was never the problem. The demand pattern was. Every open loop, every half-finished task sitting in the background, every notification left unresolved, they consume working memory even when you're not looking at them. Psychologists call this the Zeigarnik effect. Unfinished tasks occupy mental bandwidth until they're either completed or captured in a trusted system. Your brain won't let go of an open loop just because you minimize the window. Close the tabs, write down what's pending so your brain can release it. Protect one 90-minute block tomorrow morning, before email, before messages, before the day fragments into reactions. Work on the single thing that matters most. Notice what happens. The discomfort at 15 minutes, the settling at 25, the depth at 45, the feeling when you surface that you actually did something, that 40% you've been losing, it was never taken from you. You've been handing it away, one quick check at a time. Tomorrow morning, stop handing it over.